Welcome to the Slate, Real Talk with Scott Dehn. This show is all about a lifelong passion for movies and 20 plus years of experience in the film industry to create the most fun, entertaining, informative, and thought-provoking breakdown of Hollywood cinema as humanly possible. If you've ever seen a movie and you have a sense of humor, this is the show for you. The Slate Real Talk with Scott Dehn airs every other Wednesday right here at 6 p.m. Central at 216. And that, of course, brought to you in part by the support of our good friends over at Golden Age Cinemas. Yes, it is a drive-in. www.goldenagecinemas.com. Of course, playing this Friday and through the weekend, Minions 1 and Minions 2. Now, today, it's showtime. Welcome in, Scott. Hey, Ken, how are you? I am excellent. Hey, are you ready? The first sleep map. Love it. That's it. That's it. First take one. For the sleep. Wow, this is exciting. Yeah, the name of today's show is basically what we're looking to do here on Slate. We're going to navigate
what I'm really looking forward to is the special guests that we have lined up here down the road who are going to contribute to each of those topics, because I think movies have been with us for so long. It's kind of the universal language. We all
Yep.
It's something that we can all look at each other, and if there's one thing you have in common, it's movies. And I think that's one of the reasons why one of the best first date ideas is going to a movie, because it's the easiest way to spur a conversation, because movies are just part of, especially the American lexicon, right?
Yeah, yeah, but then there's that oddness to who owns the armrest.
True. Right. The politics of movie going. Who gets this armrest?
Right.
Who reaches into the popcorn? Who? Yeah. Right. Yeah. That could be a show unto itself. But movies, they have different dimensions to them, I think, and I think it's really interesting to explore each of those, because within each movie you have the writing, which is one area, the music, which is another artistic piece, the acting, there's so many ways to really break down a film, and I think what we could do here is really dissect movies in general, and see how they speak to us, because movies do speak to us. That's why, if I never knew you, actually one of the first conversations you and I ever had was regarding movies.
Yeah.
And we got into a conversation about Tombstone, I think it was.
Yeah, and absolutely. My favorite.
And here that led to you and I being friends, and it started with a conversation about a movie. And I think everyone can relate to that.
Yeah, Val Kilmer got ripped off.
Val Kilmer did get ripped off. But you're my Huckleberry, Ken,
that's right.
So it's
hey, Mary.
This is a perfect time to do this, because I think the summer of 2022, after everything we've been through with COVID in 2020, when there were no movies at all, the weird recovery in 21 when there were movies, but you could see them at home at the same time.
Yeah, I didn't understand that.
But now here we are in 2022, which is what I think is going to be the summer where we all look back and say, theaters came back, they survived. Again, they survived. They've survived everything: depressions, recessions, the onset of VCRs, which everybody thought was going to be the death of movies and movie theaters. Redbox. Yeah, right. Streaming. So here we are, summer of 2022, and movies are back. Records are being set almost every week at the box office. People are coming back to theaters, seeing movies in record numbers. And today we're going to break down a little bit of why I think 2022 years from now is going to be remembered as a summer, as a season of where movies kind of said, hey, we're back, and people responded. And there's one movie in particular that I know you and I have had some interesting conversations about that really spearheaded this whole thing, and that's Top Gun Maverick. Right. Was it needed? I don't know. Yeah. Was it necessary? Yes, I think so.
It was necessary.
So we're going to talk about that. So again, why do movies speak to us? Why are they important? We're going to explore why. That's what this show's about.
Yeah.
And so here we are, episode 1. So to start out a little bit about who I am and why should you care, right? So my name's Scott Dehn. I'm 46 years old. I've been.
Geez, you don't look a day over 70.
I've been owning and operating movie theaters for 20 plus years. Currently at the McHenry Outdoor Theater. So I've from an exhibitor standpoint, I've seen it all. But I've been a movie fanatic for my whole life. I remember where I was and who I saw it with when Spock died, in Star Trek 3. I remember where I was and who I was with when I saw Mola Ram pull out the heart of that poor man in Temple of Doom, and I think we all have memories of those iconic memories that are burned into your brain.
Freddy Krueger.
Well,
Freddy Krueger.
Right.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
Or where were you when you saw The Birds for the first time?
It was at a drive-in theater, actually.
Was it at a drive-in?
Yeah, it was.
Really?
And it freaked me out, and to this day, I still don't like birds.
That will leave a mark.
The only birds I like are the ones that Mary Shep cooks.
There we go, Mary Shep. Yeah, me too. So we all have these kind of iconic moments where you remember where you were at, the impact that they had on you, and the impact that they carry on for years, not just of Fear of Birds, but also there's the inspirational messages in films like Rudy, or even like a Shawshank Redemption.
Oh yeah.
There's things that carry with you with movies for quite a long time, for your whole life. Anyways, to continue with me, so I'm recently married. I have a 5-year-old son and it's really interesting. So my wife is Bulgarian. So her knowledge and concept of kind of the pop culture things that we take for granted aren't really in her, wheelhouse as of yet. She doesn't grasp that. And it's super cool, because now when I watch, when someone asks me, Scott, what's a movie you would recommend? And I go, oh, you got to watch 12 Monkeys. I'm like, and after I recommended, I'm like, man, what I wouldn't give to be able to watch it for the first time. But having a wife who's Bulgarian, who hasn't seen these movies before, you do get to watch them for the first time because you're seeing it through her eyes. Yeah. And the same goes for, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate to, if you're a parent or a grandparent, seeing a movie with a 5-year-old like my son for the first time, seeing that, their eyes get big and their jaw drop when they see, Darth Vader's the father, that's right? Darth Vader's, that's a moment where that hits you. Like, right. Where did that come from? And we're going to, I think it'd be cool in future episodes to bring someone like maybe my son who's 5 to come in and, we saw Sonic the Hedgehog 2, which, 10 years ago, it's probably not a movie I would have rushed out to see in theaters, but there's stuff that he got out of that movie that I didn't even think of. And now there's things that I got out of that movie that I know he didn't hit on. So I think it would be kind of interesting to see, the give and take of, what did you get out of it? Why did you like it? Me as a parent.
Sit there and watch Pulp Fiction with him.
Now that's an experiment. Let's put a 5-year-old in front of watching Pulp Fiction,
But it's true. And the funny thing is, no matter how many movies you watch or whatever, movies bookmark your life. So
they do.
So like my son is 28, but the Toy Story movies are bookmarked to him. You know what I mean?
Right.
And we watched every one, and he was going to college when Andy was going to college, and you're just sitting there like, ooh.
I know. Well, we have Lightyear currently playing now at the theater, at the McHenry Outdoor Theater.
Yeah.
And I remember when Toy Story first came out and we were showing it, and it was no different than, a Minions that's out right now, or it was an animated movie by Pixar, and you knew it was good. Pixar was just taking off, so it was a cute family movie. And you're right, it continued, and the kids got older, and so did the movie. It kind of skewed older and older. So now we have Lightyear, and you have these now parents bringing their kids to say, we're seeing Lightyear. Lightyear was a character that I grew up with watching Toy Story. So it's like come full circle with some of these movies. And it's really interesting to see, the evolution of franchises, which that's another topic, but franchises have taken a life of their own, whether it's the, like the shared universe thing we have going on with Marvel, or the continuing saga of the Skywalker family.
Oh yeah. There's something there too. Chris Watkins Smith, thanks for tuning in and hanging out with us tonight on the Slate Real Talk with Scott Dehn. Chris says, I'm so happy you've kept the theater alive. I'm 57 and I remember my parents taking my brother and I when we were 5 and 6, and now I take my grandchildren, which is awesome. See, it is bookmarks. That's bookmarks.
Right. And that's the other thing too. I love, the drive. I got into the theater business. Number one, the only reason was because I heard you got free movies as as being an employee.
Right.
So I worked as a doorman, and I'm like, this is fine because I'm actually saving money. I'm not having to pay for all these movies I'm seeing every week. And what I love now, especially at the drive-in theater, is not just the movies, which is cool. I love watching movies, but you go there and you see, a little kid playing catch with his dad, who's then throwing the ball to his dad, the grandfather.
Yeah.
The multi-generational,
cool.
It's not just about the movies. It's about the experience. It's about the memories that are made. That little kid, the 7-year-old playing catch, he may or may not remember the movie that he's going to see, but I guarantee you he's always going to remember playing catch with his dad and his grandfather in the yard at the drive-in. And that's what's super cool. And that's, I would do this anyway because I love movies, but to keep those kind of those experiences alive when they're disappearing, drive-ins are disappearing. It's a reward that goes beyond anything that I would have expected when I got into this business. And so that's a very cool comment to read there. Yeah. So thank you, Chris.
Yeah, she says, now let's bring back another indoor theater here.
now we need an indoor theater. Well, just imagine the drive-in as an indoor, but we're just, perpetually working on the roof, right?
And bring a tent, sit in a tent.
Bring a tent, bring your own roof. It's BYOR. Right?
That's right.
Yeah.
What are these people doing? Absolutely.
There's Mary Shep.
Yeah.
Mary.
Oh, yeah. Chris says, I remember when they had the playground up by the screen.
I still have that playground.
Really?
I do. So it used to be, there was the playground underneath the screen. I played on that when I was little. And then across the street on Lincoln Road, you had the go-kart track. So the go-kart track closed down. And I ran over there and I took all their signs and stuff, because I've always been a nostalgic person.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. Look at everything behind you. Yeah.
Right. So to answer what I know, a lot of people ask me about is what's inside the tower? What do you keep inside the tower? Well, and there is that old
ghost
playground. Oh. Yeah. So number 1, ghosts.
Yeah.
Number 2, playground equipment. And number 3, signs from the go-kart place.
That's awesome.
I've tried to get another playground up in the, where the playground used to be, but insurance these days kind of dictates otherwise too.
Yeah. Chris says her friends own the go-kart track.
Oh, really?
Nice.
Well, if they want their signs back, I've got them, Chris.
It's a good price on them.
For every $50 you spend in concession, you get a go-kart sign.
That's right. Absolutely. So you're there, you're a doorman, you're loving it. And when you were doing that, did you ever think this is my destiny?
Oh, before that,
really?
I can tell you, I was at the drive-in watching, again, I think this was, I was at the McHenry Indoor Theater on Green Street, when it was just the 2-screen.
Yeah, the 2-screen.
And the very first movie I saw, it must have been a re-release of Sleeping Beauty. And I remember that was the first movie I saw, and my dad brought me and my sister. It was a rainy night. We had nothing to do. And I just remember sitting in there looking at this screen that I thought was larger than life. And it was magic. It was magic. And I'll never forget sitting in there with my dad and the feeling that I had watching this on screen, with my dad, with my sister, and knowing that I wanted to somehow, some way do something that made others feel the way that I was feeling at that time. So I knew back then I had to be 7, 6 maybe. I mean, and then Star Wars hits.
Oh.
I mean, in the 80s is a great time to be alive for as a kid, especially as a kid when it came to, the cinematic experience, waiting around the block at the downtown Crystal Lake Theater for E.T., for my dad picking me up to go see Raiders of the Lost Ark and
Dr. Jones, Dr. Jones.
Right. But yeah, those are things you don't forget. But it was those moments, those memories, those feelings that I had where I knew, whether it was in the movie business or somewhere else, that I could get that kind of feeling of, or provide that kind of feeling to especially kids and families that I experienced then. I don't think there's any experience like it, going to a movie with people that you care about, and then that shared experience that you can carry on for years later.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm 46 now, and I remember the smell. I remember the candy I ate, sitting in a theater, in 1982 or something like that.
Right.
So there has
the juju
to be
fruits.
Yeah,
the juju fruits.
Right. So there's just something magical about movies, and I think that's why they've sustained for so long. But to break down the exact reasons why, why is the medium of movies, why is it special? Why has it survived this long? Why has it survived when it really had no right to survive? There's something to it. I want to know why. I'd love to explore the reasons why everyone has such a fascination for going to see a movie. Or you and I have had the conversation where I said I don't think I've had a original thought or original word or phrase come out of my mouth that wasn't from a movie. Everything I speak in movie quotes. That's a good and a bad thing. It's kind of impressive, actually, when I think about
it's very impressive.
the memory that I didn't know.
And I got a couple friends like that, but then they look at me like, you know what that's from? I'm like, I have no idea.
But you have to hope they know the movie. But that's kind of cool, though, because if they don't know the movie, you sound like a genius.
Right.
You come out with these words of wisdom. If they know the movie, they think that you're cool. Then oh yeah, he's quoting Big Lebowski. He's one of my guys.
Yeah, right.
And that's what I say. You can learn so much about someone. I say, by the shoes they wear, by the music they listen to, and by the movies they quote. If I know those 3 things about someone, I can tell if they're my kind of people or not. Those 3 things: shoes, music, movies. What are they quoting?
That's it.
What else do you need? That tells you everything.
What else do you need?
Oh, so yeah. So as we move on here, some of the guests that we have lined up, the one that I'm really excited about, Matt Fagerholm. I know, well, he might not be watching because he's on his honeymoon, but
he's tuned in.
But Matt's a big movie fan. He may be watching. Matt Fagerholm, he's the former staff writer.
Even if he's in the bathroom pooping, he's watching.
Knowing him, probably. Yeah. He's from McHenry. He was the former staff writer at HollywoodChicago.com.
Oh, nice.
Current editor at Indie Outlook, and now he's the literary editor at RogerEbert.com.
Nice.
So he actually began with me as a concession worker at the McHenry Downtown Theater a long time ago. Yeah. Now he's doing really well. And then I have some other guests who are actors who are willing to come on board and talk about their experience.
Cool.
We watch the movies and we think, acting, what a job. You get to pretend all day. That's so hard.
I do that and don't get paid for it.
We all pretend. Yeah, we all pretend all day. But when it's your job to, be on the spot and cry at, on cue, or to laugh on cue and to memorize the lines, and then the politics behind how to get a role. It's an interesting story. And I think everyone will enjoy hearing from someone on the other side of things who's trying to get a job in a movie.
Yeah.
So that should be interesting. So he'll be on. So what do we got?
Harley.
Harley is always at the drive-in.
There we go. And he says first outdoor I remember going to was the one by Delavan, Wisconsin. I think it was called the Lakes Theater.
The Lakes Theater.
No longer there.
Yeah.
A lot of them aren't.
That's the sad thing about drive-ins. yeah, there were two things. There were a few things that killed drive-ins. One was the VCRs. VCRs, took a good population of drive-ins away. Number two, the land was much more valuable as a Walmart than it was as a seasonal drive-in theater. And then the digital conversion. Everyone was on 35 millimeter cameras. The conversion to a digital equipment was like $200,000 just for
the auto industry didn't help out either. I mean, back in the 80s and whatnot, there were no cup holders.
That's true. But what the ironic thing about that is the auto industry was a huge help because I got my digital equipment through a contest. I won it.
Really?
Through Honda. Honda had a contest where all you had to do was go online and vote for a drive-in, any drive-in in the country that you wanted to get digital equipment to save that drive-in. So I'm like, I'll enter the contest. What's the worst that could happen? I'm in the same position. I need to buy equipment. And so we ended up winning. So we get the digital equipment, all this equipment, we get it installed. And it was kind of funny. I was doing interviews because I was trying to raise money to afford digital equipment. And so I get a call, this Project Honda or Project Drive-In by Honda. They were giving away 5 digital projectors. They'd given away 4 at the time. And I was supposed to do an interview with some radio station I'd never heard of before at 10 in the morning on a Saturday. I had just had a long night at the drive-in. And I admittedly kind of blew off this interview. And so they're calling and calling. I'm like, so I get up, I'm like, all right, I got to go. So I go over there and I'm doing the interview and they go, so, I'm telling them what I'm trying to do, and getting votes to win this equipment. And then after, 20-minute interview, they go, well, how does it feel to win the equipment? I'm like, no, I just told you for 20 minutes. I didn't win the equipment. I'm trying to. And they go, yeah, we know, but how does it feel to win it? I'm like, now I'm annoyed. I'm saying, no, I didn't win the equipment. I'm trying to get votes. And now I'm concerned that I'm coming off as a jerk and this is going to be on the radio or on television and all that. And they peel off the label of the van and it says Honda and they go, no, you won the equipment. I'm like, you're kidding me. So there's a video on YouTube if you want to see what I look like crying. There's a video of the reveal and we won the equipment and it was unreal. They told me, they go, we entered the contest 2 weeks late. It was a month-long contest. And we were one of the top 5 vote getters in the country. Like we beat out San Francisco, theaters in San Francisco.
Wow.
And he's like, yeah, he goes, it's weird. You were getting votes from like Vietnam and, Guam and all these other places. And
that's awesome.
So it was a lifesaver for the theater. So the theaters, the drive-in theaters that survived the digital conversion, they were celebrating. And then came COVID, which, not just the drive-in theater suffered, among other industries.
The industry,
theaters in general, a lot of indoor theaters closed, especially independents. And then we lost a good majority of drive-ins. And I think now we're down to 263 left in the U.S. So, the drive-ins that are around now, I think they're here to stay. And there seems to be a little bit of a resurgence with drive-ins. There's a few really interesting ones that are being built in Florida, Ohio. Really top of the line, like LED screens. They don't even need projectors. This is pretty crazy stuff. So I think there's going to be a resurgence, but we're happy to be here. We had to get pretty creative during COVID, but there were no movies.
Everybody did.
There were no movies. So we were able to have customers socially distanced. Even the vehicles had to be socially distanced. So I think it was 6 feet between you and me, but our cars had to be 15 feet apart, because you don't want the cars breathing on each other either. So we did what we could. There were no movies, and I'm showing things like Wizard of Oz, movies that most people own at home.
I've never seen that from start to finish.
Wizard of Oz?
Yeah, I've never sat like front to back of it. I've probably seen the whole thing, but I never have sat and watched it from start to finish. Isn't that weird? Yeah.
I don't even know what to say. You've never seen Wizard of Oz from start to finish?
No, never. Yeah. I don't know.
So if I talk about Wizard of Oz,
I know
future shows, do I need to give a spoiler alert?
No, I said,
I back to Kansas.
Like I said, I've probably seen the whole thing, just not front to back.
And pieces.
Yeah,
really?
I'm 53. I mean, it comes on 2 or 3 times a year. Wow. It just never held my attention long enough. So,
well, at the end of every show, I'm going to give a little bit of homework to our guests, nice. But I'm going to give a little bit of homework to you. You got to watch it from start to finish. You have to. You got 2 weeks.
Well, we'll
I'll watch it with you. I'll provide commentary. I'll watch it with you.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right,
Yeah.
man, Kent.
Yeah, I mean, I know it. I know it all. I'm, so many years, but
you'll like it. It's like Tombstone.
Well, I don't know about that. I don't know about that.
Well, all right, we'll get you to watch that.
There's flying monkeys in it. I don't know about that. Those things scared me when I was
Those flying monkeys were scary.
Yeah.
Actually, I'd say that was maybe one of the first like frightening things that like really frightened me as a kid. That and my parents rented Alien.
Oh yeah.
One night when I was really young, and I walked in right at the chest burster scene. And for years, when I would go to take a shower, I'd like look in the corner of the shower to make sure there weren't like any face huggers, like hugging.
Right. Yeah, shapeshifters. So here's the interesting thing. I think is, to me, it's interesting anyway. It may not be interesting to anybody else, but I've got friends, and I don't know if you're one of these guys that watch so many movies. They like talk about they don't talk about the character's name. They, and I will use Adam Sandler. Right. They talk about Adam as if he's a close friend.
Sure. Right.
Are you one of those people that you're into the movies so much? Oh, well, Adam, he played the blah, 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 and you're like, who are you talking?
That's the equivalent of, Cubs or Sox fans who say we won,
right.
Our team signed that. No,
we won.
You're not part of the team. No. Right. And Adam's not a friend of mine. And, Will Ferrell, I don't call him, right. I call them by their characters' names.
Yeah.
I mean, I get really into movies, into movies. I'll watch a movie and then I'll watch it with the director's commentary. Then I'll watch it with, the isolated score.
You really,
I want to know everything that went into this.
Yeah.
But no, calling the actors by their first name.
Yeah.
Why do you do that?
No. That's why I'm like the guy on, Will Ferrell, the other guy on Step Brothers. That's what I do. And then, when you quote him, you're like, and if somebody were to say his name, I'd be like, who are you talking about?
Yeah.
Right? Oh.
No, but I know what you mean. There's the ones who
Brendan?
use Brendan. Yeah. There's the people who use the actors' names as if they're close personal friends. Yeah. No.
Like, I don't know. I don't know who that is. Oh, well, she played in the what? Well, so she had about a 5-minute part.
Right. Or I've met some celebrity, at some where they do the signings, the big conventions and stuff. Yeah. And I've made the mistakes of calling them by their characters' names that I know them from.
Right.
But they're usually pretty cool about that, where they take it as a compliment. You go to, you see, who was it? Robert Englund, and you're like, oh, you're nervous to meet, Robert Englund, who played Freddy Krueger, and you go up there and you've been waiting in line and you had everything set that you want to say to, Robert Englund, someone that you felt like you've known since, you were young. And you shake his hand and you say, Freddie, it's very nice to meet you. Right. He's used to it,
But he does sort of resemble Freddie too.
He does. Yeah. He does. Except he's the biggest gentleman. He's the biggest sweetheart you'd ever meet.
Yeah.
And then you try to, and that's what I think is so cool about actors, and why I'm looking forward to having some actors on this show is they're normal people. Even Freddy Krueger in real life is a normal, down to earth person.
Yeah.
How do they get into some of these characters? You have like the Jared Leto's who do the method acting, where they act like the Joker even when they're not on screen. Or the Daniel Day-Lewis's who are in the character from There Will Be Blood, for months at a time.
Yeah,
and that's a bit crazy, but
and then people get into it though.
They do, but that's that can be dangerous.
Yeah. Well, what's his name who does the Lincoln commercials? When he was the guy when he had AIDS.
Not the Lincoln the car commercials.
Yeah.
Oh, McConaughey.
McConaughey.
Yes.
I could see his face. I was gonna say, all right.
Yeah. Oh, my friend Matt, right? Yeah. Matt McConaughey.
Yeah, Matt.
Yeah. He's
but he starved himself. I mean, the amazing thing is these professionals, they jump in, man.
They do.
And you're like, man, he lost it. Nope, I lost all that weight to play that.
Right. Christian Bale's another one. He did
Yeah.
that where every movie he puts on either the weight for Vice, right?
Yeah.
Took off the weight from Machinist, where he was, almost, all skin and bones.
Yeah.
Then, he's filming the Batman where he's ripped. Yeah,
it's crazy.
And then the movie that's out now, the number one movie, Thor: Love and Thunder, where he's the villain, and now he's back to the emaciated, kind of ghostly.
Yeah,
that's taking it to another level. But I mean, they'll do anything for their art.
You pay me like you pay them. I might be able to do that too.
It'd take a lot to
it's a lot of
to get me not to eat a Big Mac.
Right.
I'd have to be really dedicated to my profession to
right
slip through Taco Bell without getting a Mexican pizza.
That's right. That's right.
Even if I was Batman.
Oh yeah. Hey, you're listening to 21.6 The Net. This is the Slate Real Talk with Scott Dehn, of course, brought to you through the financial support of our good friends over at Golden Age Cinemas. Check them out at www.goldenageCinemas.com. This weekend starting, we have Minions 1, Minions 2. Come on out, have some fun.
Yeah, Minions 1, Minions 2. What a summer. So to get back to what we were initially talking about, this summer has been hit after hit after hit. So the summer season started with Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, and you and I were talking before the show about the comic book movies, and not really something you're into.
No,
but
that's not my bag, baby.
So today, in preparation for the show, I was looking at this Marvel Cinematic Universe is unprecedented. It started in 2008 with Iron Man. And here we are almost 30 years later with Thor that came out this week. And if you add up from 2008 to, where we are now, 2022 with Thor: Love and Thunder coming out, if you were to watch all the movies to get caught up, let's say you're a little behind, like you haven't seen one of them.
Right.
You have 100. My wife's you have 100 hours. You only have 100 hours that you have to watch to get from point A to where we are now. But the cinematic universe is it's an interesting concept that really has taken off for Marvel.
Yeah.
Others have tried it. The DC cinematic universe with, Superman, Batman, it fizzled out.
Good
out
classic movies.
Right. So where Marvel succeeded, Disney or DC failed, Warner Brothers failed. And then you had they tried it. They were on the cover of Vanity Fair, and they promoted it so heavy. Universal was trying to do the Monsterverse with Tom Cruise did The Mummy.
Oh yeah.
Dracula Untold.
Yep.
They had it all planned out where they were going to do all the monster movies, and they were all going to tie in together, and it never got past 2018's The Mummy.
Right.
But for whatever reason, it's working for Marvel and the MCU, and they keep going, and Thor set all sorts of records. So what's interesting about this summer is so May 5th, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness opens, and everybody knew it was going to be a hit, and it broke all sorts of records, held on to the top spot for 3 weeks, and then comes Top Gun Maverick, which was number one, broke the records that was previously set by Doctor Strange just 3 weeks prior, and then it was number one for quite a while, and then out came Jurassic World, which now broke the records that Top Gun set.
Again, haven't seen one Jurassic Park movie.
Not even the first one?
Not even the first one.
Kent.
I'm not a big dinosaur guy. I'm you throw a dumb movie out there, Animal House, I can probably recite word for word, right? So
to be fair though, so there's 6 Jurassic Park movies. Jurassic Park.
Again, there's another 100 hours.
And most of them are pretty dumb. You might enjoy some of these. The first one's great. I thought Jurassic World was great. But yeah, they're pretty dumb.
Yeah, but he's the Fly to me. It's
Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah, Jeff Goldblum. He's the Fly.
Jeff Goldblum. Yeah, he's one we're gonna hit on. I have three actors that I will watch in anything. One is Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah.
2 is Christopher Walken.
I love.
And 3 is Nicolas Cage. And we have a segment that we're gonna hit on every week that involves Nicolas Cage, because Nicolas Cage he embraces his idiocy, right? He knows that he's crazy, and he'll go from being an Oscar contender to making something just completely ridiculous. But he embraces all his movies, and he jumps headfirst into every single one of his roles, as if they're his first, only, and last role that he'll ever have.
Yeah.
And I appreciate him for that. And he's completely eccentric, just like Christopher Walken and even Jeff Goldblum. And I would watch them doing anything.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I like Nicolas Cage too. Yeah,
oh, he's awesome. Yeah. And and his newest movie, if you haven't checked it out, The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, is incredible.
Yeah,
it's incredible. I mean, now if we go by what Nicolas Cage typically does, he's going to have this great movie, and now he's going to have 4 movies that follow it that are complete.
Right. Raising Arizona.
Well, you don't like Raising Arizona?
No, I do.
Okay. All right.
But that's just one of those quirky, weird movies.
But he's drawn to that because he seems. What I like about him is he goes to the movies that really seem to call out to him. You know, he kind of gravitates towards movies that make sense to him. I mean, I think it's why him and Tim Burton were such good collaborators in the movies that they did, because Tim Burton's a little, off too, in the best of ways. I love Tim Burton, but him and Nicolas Cage, they work well together because they're the same side of the coin. There's a great documentary. It's difficult to find, but if you can find it, it's a lot of fun to watch.
Hey, Jen.
Called what is it? The Return, or Superman, The Death of Superman Lives, because Tim Burton was making a Superman movie with Nicolas Cage as Superman, and it was supposed to be his big, this was supposed to be his Batman, with Superman, and they did screen tests. He had the suit. It's an incredible documentary, and it didn't happen. And it's one of those, what if, in some alternate universe, this Superman Lives did take off, and I would love to see what that movie looked like, but it didn't happen. So, what are you gonna do? We got our Batman and our Batman Returns. So
that's it.
That's good enough.
That's it. Always good. Jen just says hi. Hey guys.
Oh, hi, Jen.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining. Oh, so back to Top Gun.
Yeah, man.
So we get to Top Gun, and we said, was Top Gun needed? No. There wasn't anybody asking for, where's our sequel to Top Gun
for 30 years.
For 30 years, there wasn't a line, at the Paramount Studios saying, picketing, where's our Top Gun?
Hey, where's Maverick? I got to see Goose's boy.
But they made it, granted they made it, I think, like 4 years ago, but it was completed about 4 years ago. It was on the shelf with everything that happened with COVID. It came out. The interesting thing about Top Gun is if you look at the biggest grossers of this record-setting 2022, it wasn't animated.
No.
It wasn't a comic book movie. It wasn't Batman. It wasn't
not
Dr.
a ton
Strange.
of GCI in it, right?
Right. So it was true summer blockbuster escapism. I wouldn't know if I would call it a franchise because it was a sequel 30 years later, but I think it brought something back to theaters that was missing. Right.
And that's old people.
And it's old people, right?
Well, there's so many people in their 50s, 60s, and 70s who are just over the top, like, oh, it's the best movie you ever made. And right. And I'm asking, like, is it because there's a lot of flashbacks to the 80s and you're like, I remember when I was a young kid watching that.
Right. And nostalgia sells. It does. I mean, I think that's why you see so many remakes of movies that were so popular. Yeah. Some of the biggest movies have been remade or are getting remade. Willy Wonka. They really remade that with Johnny Depp. Yeah. And it was a hit, but
I liked it.
I did too. Yeah. I did too, for completely different reasons that I liked the original.
The darkness of it.
The darkness of it was interesting. And I also was a big fan of Roald Dahl's book, and I think that this hit a little closer to the book than what the Gene Wilder version did.
Jen says, speaking of movies, Pulp Fiction, one of my faves at the time. I'm now a mom to a Mia Wallace. LOL was a huge Tarantino fan.
Wow, yeah, Tarantino, he's one of my favorites.
Twisted.
And there is no bad Tarantino movie. I know people will say Death Proof from the Grindhouse feature. That's still a good movie. Maybe one of the weaker Tarantino movies, but for the longest time, I thought Pulp Fiction, it doesn't get any better than Pulp
Oh
Fiction.
God, how many times you just keep watching it?
It's genius.
It is.
But then I watched Inglourious Bastards.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, this
Kill
this
Bill.
is, he can't do any better than this.
Right.
Then Once Upon a Time in Hollywood comes out. And I'm like, nope, this is his perfect movie. And he says he's only going to make one or two more and he's done. You can't doubt him anymore after what he's done. He continues to set
Home
the
runs,
bar higher for himself.
Home runs all the time.
Yeah. But naming your daughter Mia. So was that because of?
That's what she says.
Because that's super cool.
Right. But there's, watch how many Mavericks are born this year.
Because they were driving.
Yeah, Maverick.
Maverick. Yeah, we're gonna have a lot of Maverick.
Maverick Smith.
Yeah. Yeah. Now they're talking about making Top Gun 3.
No,
inevitably.
Put it to bed. Right. And here's what I'm saying. You did it back in the 80s, and most sequels are worse than the originals.
Right.
Most. And you did good. Put it to bed.
Yeah.
Let it just sit and ruminate.
They should, but it's you can't put a moneymaker to bed. It's the same theory as Oreos, right? Oreos, when they came out, were very good.
Yeah.
I love Oreos. And then they said, we can do better. We'll do double stuff. And now everyone started buying the double stuff. And then they're like, wait a minute, triple stuff, huge stuff, banana cream pie flavored Oreo, and they keep going and going because and they should have left well enough alone with double stuff. End it there. End it with the sequel.
You're there.
But no,
don't come out with the thing.
Now they've milked the Oreo franchise to death, just like they're going to do with Top Gun, and they've done with so other.
Jason says, "Hey, Jason, how are you? And thanks for being a Sox fan, my guy." Top Gun 3, Electric Boogaloo.
I didn't think we'd get an Electric Boogaloo thrown in that episode by episode 1.
Yeah, Jen says, oh, s'mores Oreos now.
S'mores okay, yeah, s'mores Oreos are pretty sweet, but did we need them?
Nah,
no.
It's like the Lay's potato chips. It just I don't need a potato chip to taste like a dill pickle.
No,
I can eat a dill pickle.
And I think it was Lay's who had the contest where they had the 3 different flavors, and so I go down the chip aisle and you see the French bread flavor chips, or the Reuben sandwich potato chip. Like we have so much we don't need in this world.
Chemically enhanced, natural flavors.
Yeah. Top Gun 3, Electric Boogaloo. Man, I'm watching Breakin' 2 for sure tonight.
Oh yeah, right.
How are we gonna save?
That's what we need.
Park?
We need some more dance movies coming back, I think.
We do.
Yeah. Why is Brad Pitt always chewing in his scenes?
He does, doesn't he?
He does.
Now that I think about it,
he's got a new one coming out too, right?
Bullet Train.
Yeah,
which looks pretty good. And he said he's about ready to retire too.
Well, yeah, he's got some miles on it.
Unless Bullet Train's a success.
Yeah.
Because then he's got to make Bullet Train 15.
Right. You got to get the series.
Right.
Yeah. But you see, but look at all this. This is the magic and the beauty of film.
It is.
Look at it. Everybody's like boom, 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 boom.
Right.
Yeah. And to me, that's incredible. That's really
it is. And that's why I say it's the universal language. We can all you could sit with anybody.
Yeah.
And you could have nothing in common, but if you bring up movies, somehow a conversation is going to get started.
Right now.
For sure.
Yeah.
And what I like is I love a good movie. I do. I want to sit down and see a good quality movie, good writing, good acting. But man, I love, maybe even more than good movies, bad movies. Yeah. And you know why? They're incredibly interesting because you just have to. So you watch this bad movie. Let's say Breakin' 2, Electric Boogaloo. I mean, objectively, that's a bad movie. Fun, but bad, right? There had to be somewhere at some time, there was a room full of very smart people getting paid a lot of money to come up with a concept of the next blockbuster. And this is what they came up with.
Watch any Porky's movie. Right. They were genius back in the 80s. Right. And you watch them now, you're like, how did I watch this?
But somebody thought it was a good idea.
I know.
Somebody thought it was a good idea.
And what I love doing is strolling down and watching the lighting. You can see shadows. You're like, how did I miss that?
Right. All the continuity errors, the boom mic in the shot,
Right.
and they all saw this multiple times
Yeah.
before it was released, saw the mistakes, and still said, "Nah, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Let's go with it, Bob."
That's it. Jason says Eric Bana's Hulk movie was terrible.
No, it wasn't. No. Jason, wait, no, Jason, you come on. Jason was with me. Jason worked for me in 2003. Hulk came out, and the first weekend, I remember Universal told us, no, we only had 2 screens, and Universal said you got to keep it for 6 weeks. And I thought, great, the Hulk. Spider-Man had just shown that comic book movies were big, and Hulk was like the next big property. So we're like, keep it for 6 weeks, no problem. And the first showing, like the first premiere showing, like had like 35 people in it. We're like, oh no, like 6 weeks. But Jason, listen, we've talked about this, and I resent you bringing up here in public. Hulk is a good movie, and the reason it's a good movie, the special effects weren't up to speed in 2003 with what they should have been for a proper Hulk movie, but Ang Lee's use of using like the comic book, I love it. What do you call the comic book? The sections where it looked like a comic book where they had the scenes in the the framing. So we had a frame of one scene with another frame coming in.
Yeah,
that was genius. It was way ahead of its time. It was a deep movie. I think it was too deep for some people, Jason. It was. If
you think it's bad, go back and watch the TV show in the 70s.
And that's fun bad.
It'll be a great movie compared to that show.
There's a GIF that I used to send to people way too often of from the Lou Ferrigno Hulk show where he's angry and a bear comes out of the woods and he's angry. So what does he do? He picks up the bear and he throws it at the bad guy.
Right.
Like you could get away with that back then.
That's it. Dan, thanks for tuning in, hanging out with us. Says Star Wars universe, Marvel universe. We need a Dick Tracy universe.
Yes.
That would be cool.
That would be cool. Dan, a Dick Tracy universe. And they tried that with the what's his name? The actor, anyway, Dick Tracy came out, had Al Pacino.
Oh, yeah.
Married to Annette Bening. Warren Beatty. Warren Beatty directed Dick Tracy. And I remember it was very big out here because of Woodstock, with Chester Gould being, from Woodstock. And Dick Tracy was a success. I think it was the number 2 movie in 1990 behind Total Recall.
Yeah.
And that was supposed to spawn a Dick Tracy universe. I will go, that's a hill I will die on, saying that the Dick Tracy movie was a very good movie. The color scheme, the writing, the creativity behind that movie, it should have been its own universe. Hopefully one day we get one.
Or make it like a Naked Gun series.
Dude, just kind of totally lampoon it.
Right.
Yeah.
That's it. Nicholas, thanks for tuning in, says Waterworld, beautifully terrible.
Yes.
But it sucked you in. That's one I've watched front to back. Why?
Waterworld?
Yeah.
So you watch Waterworld front to back. This is what I'm saying. So bad movies are fun.
Yeah.
Wizard of Oz classic. You haven't watched it for whatever reason, but you've seen Waterworld.
Right.
This kind of tells us
6-hour Waterworld, which is
if
horrible.
I'm flipping through channels at 3 a.m. when I get home from the theater and I see that Waterworld's on, I'm with Nick. Waterworld stays on and I watch that because there's so many odd questions that come to mind. So 3:30 in the morning, I'm watching Waterworld.
Always. That's when you catch it, and then you can't sleep the rest of the night.
And you're just bathing in this disaster, this beautiful disaster, like Nick calls it. And so here's some things that I've come up with Waterworld. The villains were the smokers, right?
Yeah.
How do you know they're the bad guys? Because they're smoking cigarettes. Bad guys smoke cigarettes. But here's my question. In a world that's filled with water, how did those cigarettes stay dry?
Right. Through the whole thing.
The magic of movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw Waterworld at the drive-in, Cecilia says. That's great.
Boy.
Well, and then see, here's the 2 things. And Costner's brilliant at these horrible movies.
Right.
The mailman is
the postman.
The postman.
Right.
Is Waterworld on dry land.
Absolutely. 4 hours of Nicholas. I want to say Nicolas Cage, but no, this was Kevin Costner doing a Nicolas Cage with the postman. And the worst part about that movie is, and again, it's a horrible movie that I love.
Yeah.
But in the end, you remember Tom Petty comes up,
Yes.
and Kevin Costner is like, "Don't I know you from somewhere?" He's like, "Maybe." I mean,
Right.
it's such a
It's terrible.
awful. It's like the sequel to Ocean's 11, the
Right.
George Clooney remake, where they were playing off Julia Roberts looking like Julia Roberts. You know, that meta kind of meta is cool if it's done right, but that's just sickening. That's kind of sick. You got to do that right, and they didn't in The Postman, among many other things.
Yeah. And Twister's another one that Mary will watch if it comes on.
Oh, Twister's Twister's.
And there's another one you're like, okay, you strapped yourself to that and you didn't get one cut on you. Come
right.
on. What? How does that work?
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. And I had Philip Seymour Hoffman in one of my favorite roles of his, along with Big Lebowski, but yeah, Twister, you can't turn off. What do we say?
Yeah. Jen says you can't pee into a Mr. Coffee and get a taster's choice. Dehn at Carvey Bond Waterworld.
This is true. Now I gotta watch Waterworld tonight. Thank you, everybody.
That's right.
This is what I needed.
Oh yeah.
But so and you're right. You're right, Kent. The beauty of movies in general, good or bad. I have had people walk out of theaters. I've had people clap at the end of movies.
Always.
So Minions too. People were clapping at the end of Minions too. And I have to say, I thought it was pretty funny. I thought it was actually really good.
Yeah.
So you have the movies that people love and they applaud and they'll talk about it for a week or so about how good it was. And then they'll forget about it.
Yeah.
But we're talking about Waterworld today. we mentioned Wizard of Oz.
Right.
But we're talking about Waterworld.
Yeah.
And that's, again, what I think is just the universal language where good or bad, good acting, bad acting, good writing, bad writing, movies you can discuss forever. And I think that you can talk about the bad ones just as long, if not longer, as the good ones. Maximum Overdrive.
It's all my guilty pleasures.
Jesus.
I'm watching till the end.
Maximum Overdrive. I just read an article because Maximum Overdrive was Stephen King's first, I believe, only was his directorial debut.
Yeah.
And they did an interview with him because that movie. Have you seen Maximum Overdrive? It's a bonkers movie.
I don't think so.
It's a bonkers movie, and so I'm reading this. I love it. I read this interview, and Stephen King said, they go, what went through your mind? Because it's such a crazy movie. What was on your mind that would create something like this? He goes, what was on my mind? He goes, I don't know what was on my mind. He goes, all I remember from the making of that movie was the cocaine that was available to us. And so now that I read that article,
right.
Now the movie makes more sense.
Yeah, there it is.
There was no concept to that movie other than a cocaine-addled brain that was just let loose because he was Stephen King, and this is what we got on film. And now I watch it, and I'm like, yeah,
that makes more sense.
Yeah, it makes sense because it didn't make sense,
right?
And now it makes sense. Yeah.
Mary Shep says Blair Witch was the only movie I ever walked out of.
Blair Witch?
Yeah.
Really? I think Blair Witch was you can dive pretty deep into those found footage horror movies, whether you like them or not. I'm not a big fan of the shaky cam.
Right. Yeah.
Some of the found footage movies I enjoyed. What I thought was awesome about Blair Witch was it was the very first movie where the viral marketing came into play. Because nobody at the time, the internet was a little bit in its infancy when it came to scoops.
2002?
Yeah, I think it was 2002. So when the movie came out, there weren't many of those found footage movies. So a lot of the people were going into it thinking this was a documentary of what happened to these kids in the woods, and they came out of it saying, oh my gosh, like, are there books? Like, how can we find out what happened? There's got to be more to the story. And then it wasn't until much later they find out that no, Blair Witch was actually it was all fiction, and this was a movie. If it's done right, and I think Blair Witch was done right, mainly because of how it was marketed and the way they really capitalized and created the model for viral marketing with a lot of movies. That was genius. The other movie that comes to mind was Cloverfield, which I thought was really well done with the monster invasion seen through the eyes of the camcorder of the kids celebrating, their friend moving away.
Right.
that was done real well. Paranormal Activity, if you forget some of the sequels, I thought that was done well. But man, you got to be pretty on the ball with that. Made me dizzy. Yeah, the shaky cam. I have the same problem with. I love the Bourne movies.
Yeah.
But Paul Greengrass, the director of quite a few of the Bourne movies, the sequels, he did 2 through. I think he did all the remaining sequels. But he's big on the shaky cam.
Yeah.
And that's not something
I'm
that
not.
I don't dig. I don't really dig that. They pulled that with the latest Matrix Revolutions. And I was really excited for it. And I didn't think it was a bad movie, but the reliance on the shaky cam, I don't know if they think that it adds like a degree of realism to it, but it seems forced and it seems overplayed. Using the Matrix as an example again, remember when the first Matrix came out in 1999, the bullet time?
Oh, yeah.
And then everybody was using the bullet time.
Yeah.
And now when's the last time you've seen bullet time? Because it's not cool anymore.
It's not cool.
No, everyone's moved on.
That was an amazing effect. It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Let's see. Bob says, dang, missed the live start time. And then I got sick when I saw BWP and one of the Bourne movies. Had to tap out.
Bob, wow. Bob and his wife Sandy I met at the drive-in years and years and years ago, and I remember Bob came through the concession line always with these cool, like Bob had like the coolest movie t-shirts, like really obscure like horror movie t-shirts. And he was always coming through with his Dawn of the Dead t-shirts, and so we started talking, and this was like 12 years ago, and now we've become super close friends.
Spells his name backwards. It's weird.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's weird.
But Bob tapping out in a movie is not something I could even imagine. Bob is a movie freak, but I get it. Blair Witch Project, those shaky cam one, you can either take it or you can't. And
yeah,
it's hard to watch for extended periods for sure.
And you know, I mean, we're rolling into the last 4 minutes of episode 1.
Oh,
take
really?
1 here. It's crazy, right?
Yeah.
And you know, this is what this show's all about, folks. This is getting into it. We're going to get into it a little bit more. I can't wait until we do the musicals and you start singing some songs.
I've been practicing.
Yeah. Jen says that shaky cam makes me feel like I have vertigo. Side note, keynote. There you go. Keanu Reeves and his John Wick movies. Same script, 100 words for 3 movies, but still love them. Yeah, John Wick's a huge. That was Uncle Pete's one of Uncle Pete's favorites.
Oh, really? Really, John Wick. Yeah, John Wick is really well done, and that's one that I think you can kind of give credit to. The Raid and the sequel, The Raid Redemption, that came out that really redefined kind of the action movies. And yeah, John Wick. The new John Wick is coming out very soon too. So yeah, I'm a big fan of that. Well, listen, I know we said, I warned everybody. I said, look, we're going to kind of spray to all fields here. This is the first episode. We're going to lay a foundation, and we did. I think we sprayed to all fields here today.
We did.
But it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Can I give out my Nicolas Cage? So Nicolas Cage, as I said, is a personal favorite of mine. So my Nicolas Cage Idiot of the Week. That's my because Nicolas Cage he embraces the idiot.
He does.
And he plays an idiot in a lot of his films. So our Idiot of the Week, Mickey Rourke, who was quoted as saying Tom Cruise is not relevant. He's the same actor in all his films. He said that this week. No matter how you feel about Tom Cruise, he's the biggest star on the planet right now, and he proved it just within this past month.
And Mickey Rourke,
who plays not just the same character in every movie, but himself in every movie.
Right?
Who are you? What do you play? I'm Mickey Rourke.
Rourke.
He's him in every movie. So Mickey Rourke, congratulations! You're the Nicolas Cage Idiot of the Week.
Idiot of the Week.
And to end, let's just go. Unfortunately, we lost a personal favorite of mine, James Caan, this week. James Caan, you know, if I can leave you with a little bit of homework this week, we all know James Caan's big movies, you know, everything from Godfather to Elf.
Yeah.
But check out some of his lesser known titles. We hit on one tonight with Dick Tracy.
Yeah.
But Phoebe and the Brain, maybe one of the first and one of the best buddy cop films ever made. Alien Nation, a completely underrated sci-fi film. Way of the Gun, Absolutely, was brought about by the onset of Pulp Fiction, has a lot to owe to Pulp Fiction, but it's done very well.
The Gambler.
But here's the thing: if you think Godfather was James Caan's masterpiece, you're wrong. The Gambler. Thank you, Bob.
Yeah.
You're wrong. The Godfather was not. Do yourself a favor if you haven't seen Michael Mann's Thief. Watch that. I'll be back in 2 weeks.
Yeah,
Watch Thief. Unbelievable movie. James Caan at his best. And to leave you with every week, I'd kind of like to leave you with a little something to think about or to inspire you. James Caan. I can't think of a better person to quote this week. So here's my quote from James Caan to get you to our next show. James Caan said, "Showing up isn't enough. There are a lot of guys who show up every day who probably shouldn't have shown up at all." And I couldn't agree more, especially after the week I've had. So thank you, James.
Well, that popcorn means our time's come to an end. The lights are raising and the curtain's dropping. We want to thank you for joining us here, The Slate Real Talk with Scott Dehn, coming to you every other Wednesday, 6, right here, 21.6 The Net. Tune in, have some fun. If you want to be part of it, reach out to us right here at 216thenet@gmail.com and or swing by the studio. The door's always unlocked. We'd love to have you in. This is going to be a blast, folks. Thanks for tuning in. And again, remember, got nothing to do this weekend. Run out to Golden Age Cinemas, McHenry Outdoor Theater for Minion 1 and Minion 2.